Why, will it?
You didn't set up Keith, Gary.
A little
What
late
the
for
hell?
that.
It let us. Okay. Anyway. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah.
Question.
Yeah, you stow that shit, chop liver. I mean, Martin.
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought we were going to do Last Jedi today.
I'm not even responding to that. That doesn't even exist. People made that name up and spread it as a rumor.
No,
on
we
the
we
interweb.
cannot forget that shit exists. So we can never forgive.
So, Revenge of the Jedi, you say?
Yeah.
Well, he was forced to name it that way because he was getting a little pushback from the studio, and eventually went back to Return of the Jedi because they didn't like Return of the Jedi studio.
Yes,
But,
but the studio didn't understand Jedis. Jedis
No.
do not revenge.
Studios don't
The Sith would.
understand anything.
Yeah. So, welcome to Pop Culture Minefield, where we talk
Hey.
about movies. We're going to be talking about today is this little film called Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Again.
All right, Mr. Magoo.
Voted by Star Wars fans worldwide as the best Star Wars film ever made. I have always been in that camp because this movie hit. I just turned 16 when this came out, and it really hit me hard because it was so dark and dramatic. And I mean, it still had some comedy in it, but I'm glad some of the comedy that they had written into it didn't end up in the film. Original screenplay for the film was written by Lee Brackett, who's been writing movies since the late 1940s, and went by the name Lee Brackett in order to hide the fact that she was a girl. And she's very.
I can't believe it.
A woman wrote Star Wars?
What?
But here's what Lawrence Kasdan said, that so much of her script still ended up in the movie, a lot of it. And it was like he just sort of added to it and updated some of the dialogue. So Lee Brackett, this is a great film as an homage to Lee Brackett. But we've got a lot of comments going. Who's all in here? We got Gambit, who says hi to Anima.
Hi, Gambit.
Snort is here. Hello, Snort.
Snorty.
And Sauron Baggins D. And Shinatsky, who's not on here for some reason. There was no I am your father in the first draft.
No, because that was a secret.
It was a super duper top secret thing.
They only told Hamill before they went to shoot.
It's not I
And
am.
ironically, in an interview before Empire Strikes Back was even being in pre-production, Dave Prowse let loose that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's dad.
I mean, from a certain point of view.
Yeah, from a certain.
Yeah, the biological one.
He got into a lot of trouble for that.
He got into a lot of trouble for a lot of things.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? My favorite. You know what? My favorite thing.
Ewoks, Dave Prowse, stop it.
Oh my God.
You know what? My favorite thing about 5 or 6 years ago was
What's that?
find videos of dads showing their kids the last bit of Empire Strikes Back. Essentially, they watched the whole movie, and then when it came to that moment, they turned a little camera on kids, and some of those cameras are like old phone cameras or even tip recorder.
I've seen the video you're talking about, by the way.
No, there's a slew of
I saw a collection of them. There's like one video that had a whole bunch of videos of dads, exposing the ending of Star Wars to their kids and how shocked they were.
And this is why I love them so much, because if you don't know, if you're like didn't grow up with the prequels, and I know there's people who are like, okay, we're gonna watch Star Wars from episode 1. If we haven't watched Star Wars before, we're gonna watch from episode 1. That is the dumbest way. You are depriving yourself, especially we're talking about this movie, right?
Yeah.
You are depriving yourself of one of the greatest moments in movie history,
And of raising
Let al-
kids.
let alone the Star Wars universe, but essentially one of the greatest moments in movie history is that moment. And it's
Yes.
so rare. It is so rare that you cannot start watching the Star Wars franchise from episode 1, as in
No,
Phantom
no.
Menace.
Well, if you're watching it for the first time, no, you must do
You
4.
can't, yeah, because he gives it away.
You have to do 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, and then 6. Now, if you're a veteran like us who have been watching this shit for decades, you can easily start from 1.
Anyway, I love those videos, or a compilation of those videos, because on the face of those kids, you can see what you experienced when you were a kid or a teenager or whatever it was that you
Mhm.
watched this for the very first time. It is such a shocker that I've seen like old-timey news videos that people got out of the theater, they looked pale, right? And they were passing by the line going into the movie, and the people in the line were like, what the fuck happened? And the people going out did not tell the people in the line what is going to happen, because
There's a lot
They
to
were lucky.
respect back then. Yeah.
they knew that it would be a sin for them to deprive that type of spoiler. By the way, you know what? It happened again in Sixth Sense. People were reluctant to tell other people what was going down at the end of that movie, because it would deprive you of one of the greatest moments in movie history.
Let me at least put this out there. When Robert Meyer Burnett, my other twin brother, talks about his experience with The Empire Strikes Back, it was the exact opposite. There were people walking out yelling all of the secrets.
Yeah, people today will do that shit. There was a fist fight at one of our theaters in Phoenix because somebody walked out of the movie and gave away the ending of the film. I can't remember what it was. And a fist fight broke out over it,
Mhm.
ruining the movie for the people in line to see it.
I mean,
By the
you
way,
have
I got to
be a
point out that
shithead.
Ariel Ballett is here. And let's see, who else is here? Oh, yes, this.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
The Tim is here. And we've had some interesting comments. Lucas claimed he had.
Just
No, he didn't. He's a fucking liar. Okay. So much. I mean, don't get me wrong. He had all 3 films basically planned out. And he
Yeah,
wanted
not
some
all
of it
of
in the first film, but then he realized he can't have it because originally the lightsaber fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be on Bespin. And Lando Calrissian was going to be a former clone from the Clone Wars. There were
Yeah.
lots of little things
Well,
in there.
Well, all the different scripts that he had written over the years, in my opinion, is really what constitute his so-called planning things out. Because he was taking everything from his original first 2 passes and stripping out stuff with the help of others and just finding the essential bits to create the movies that need to be made and need to be told. And with all the leftover bits, from everything he had written, that's where I think he got a lot of his basic ideas for what eventually became the prequels.
Yeah.
And even then, with the prequels, he didn't put everything in there. There was a lot of stuff he left out.
And I'll tell you right now, as far as those prequels go, his biggest mistake was not having a good writer step in and fix what he wrote.
That's right. That was really his biggest mistake, because he got convinced that this was going to be a showcase for their visual effects, which it was, and it would have been difficult to bring in, at least with the first film, another director, because all of that stuff was so new. They were putting it together. They were inventing the technology and writing the books that would go with that technology to teach everyone how to do things. And a lot of that was being handwritten. You can find that in a lot of the behind the scenes videos that they released. If you have any of the movies of the prequel series, you can find all of this on there. And that's really being convinced that they need to make it a showcase for the visual effects. It's probably the biggest mistake they made, as far as allowing that to overshadow too much. I think they could have gotten away with it with, as Gary said, they had invited a real writer on to just fix what Lucas himself had been writing.
Hi, Bankman's girl.
Freaking stop!
No, I'm going to keep doing that until it's done. Because somebody said hi to us, and I'm going to wait to say hi. God damn it. If somebody else isn't going to read the fucking comments.
Kid was talking. And we have Andy Morrow graciously gifting 5 Pop Culture Minefield memberships. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
And
thanks, Andy.
the winners are Classic Comics, Moons of Madness, McKinney Draws.
Hey, Mac. All right.
Ghost of Freddy's Mercury's Immune System. God damn,
Great name.
That is a great name.
Dyrus. Well, if you are here, do not forget to thank the great Andy Morrow.
Yeah, I wish YouTube would give the gifted memberships to people who are actually in chat and not just completely random to whoever was here once.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Makini draws
ever
forever in this chat.
Yeah.
So
I stop into his chat all the time.
yeah, as long as someone was in chat, there's a chance they'll get a gifted sub.
Yeah, I get gifted subs for Zach's channel all the time, and I can't watch them live because that's like 4 a.m. for me.
And and they don't get to pick who they give. They just it's selected for them.
That's okay, but it should be people in the chat at the time.
Yeah, I know. That's what we were just saying. It's like, but they don't get to pick. It's done by YouTube. So there you go.
Well, look, let me ask you, Anima. You said you were saying before the show that you had not seen this before.
Nope.
What was your impression?
I have barely watched any Star Wars because I've seen the one where Anakin is a little boy.
Okay.
At home, it was on TV or something, I guess. And the Star Wars bug didn't catch up with me. I was like, yeah, okay, it was kind of cool, but whatever. And the next time I came in contact with Star Wars was really when Gary was watching Mandalorian with me. And I felt so overwhelmed because this is such a huge world and I know nothing. So I went into this like no expectations whatsoever. It's so much better than the other one that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand why people are so mad about it, so crazy about it. But getting into it that late with all that being out there, it's overwhelming.
Yes, it is overwhelming, but so you've had a good time with it though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we watched a lot.
By the way,
documentaries.
the version of the film that we watched is Addy Wan's Revisited, which I consider to be the superior version of the film. because all the things that should have been in the movie were put back into the movie. Oh, in fact, put into a movie that wasn't even in it the first time, because
Mhm.
he went in and added additional effects into it, which included during the Hoth battle. He fixed all the problems with the what do you call that, generator. He fixed that, and he showed the hatches on the sides of the Imperial walkers opening up for the troops to fast rope down, the
Cool.
snow troopers. He
Yeah.
put those in, and it looks really good. He also added more ATSTs, or chicken walkers. And in fact, the shot that you see where I was almost saddened by that, because the shot where you see the Imperial walker tilt slightly and shoot down one of the snow speeders going by the camera is now shot down by a chicken walker. It aims upward and shoots it as it's going by. And I thought,
Wow.
you know what? It's neat. I really liked it. He did some really cool shit to that film. And it is, in my opinion, the superior edit of the movie. And it's really odd to say that a fan edit is, but it took him this many years to make it. The whole thing, because he did the revisited on Star Wars A New Hope, which took him about 4 years, and then another 5 years for Empire.
Wow.
And he was going to do Return of the Jedi, then he gave up. I think he just gave up.
Yeah.
Just too much work. But
Wow.
I do want to point out some cool little nit bits here. One is this, that if you look closely, you will see that the bottom of the Jedi, his lightsaber, says that it's made in New York. And the reason why is because the main body of the lightsaber was made from the Graflex Speed 3 battery flash for a Kodak camera.
Wow.
And here we see it. That's the lightsaber on the right side. And without the flash part on top, that's what it looks like.
Oh, no way.
That is
So
so
if you
cool.
buy that, the Graflex Speed Graphic 3-cell battery flash, you can probably find one and build your own lightsaber. Padme was a groomer. She was hitting on him when he was a little kid.
Yeah, I found that so weird.
Yeah,
Hey,
they
we
should
have
have had him
somebody
close to
new.
the same age.
So, are you saying the same about Diana, Princess of Themyscira, and Steve? I mean, kind of hitting on a guy that was way younger than she is.
Wait, what are we talking about?
But
I have no
he's
idea
an
who these people are.
adult, Keith. He's an adult. Anakin wasn't an adult.
Good point.
Either was she.
She was
Yes, she was.
14.
technically-
She was 14.
She was.
Who cares? That movie sucked. Oh, who cares?
Only
It's
thing
like-
good about that movie is the lightsaber battle.
The only
And the
fucked
models.
up thing you can say is that the two, like, brother and sister kissed. But you have to remember, at this point in time, they were not brother and sister.
In fact,
And
I
she-
don't think the decision to make Leia the sister was officially made until they started pre-production on The Last Jedi, or I
And
mean
she-
on
Empire.
People forget she
No.
did it out of spite because she wanted
Return
to
of
make
Jedi.
Han jealous.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah, 'cause Luke was liking it, and
He was
so
digging it.
Les, and I think the decision was made that I think something was staring Lucas in the face, is that if he makes Leah his twin, she could be the other, and he thought of that would simplify the story.
Well, it also gives her more to do. If you add an additional character in, you are taking away from someone else. Ultimately, introducing new characters in automatically takes away from someone else, depending on how you do it and what that character means to the overall story that you're trying to tell. It just makes everything simpler with allowing Leia to be the sister. So,
and so that that was the reveal for Return of the Jedi, that they had to pull the Darth Vader "I'm your father" part for Empire. So what are we going to do in the third film? We'll make Leia the sister, and it ended up working in many ways, but it really does make those kisses cringy. It really, really does. Because the kiss in Star Wars, not so bad. It's a kiss for good luck. That's all that was.
yes.
That kiss, the kiss she gave him, to make, Han jealous. Yeah, that was a kiss.
Mm,
And
got that
could you-
Jedi Rising.
and even if it was planned that they would be brother and sister at that particular point in time, both of them did not know about it.
He felt it.
In his loins.
'Cause
Oh, Jesus.
he's told to search his feelings about it.
Some guys can put those off until he's done. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, Frank Oz was
I
originally supposed
missed
to be
you.
the
I
voice.
missed you, Gary. I really did.
Yes, I know you do.
We missed you.
We always miss you.
Thank you.
I'm just not as good a shot as I used to be.
Oh, dang.
So Frank Oz, by the way, was not originally supposed to be the voice of Yoda. It just ended up that Lucas liked his voice so much. He was brought on as a master puppeteer. And he was doing the voice on set, but it wasn't until later that it was decided by Lucas that he should go ahead and do the voice. Now, I will point out.
I have a sorry to disturb you again, Gary.
No, go ahead.
Did you ever have that moment where you said to someone, well, do you know that Miss Piggy and Yoda are the same person? Or
And Fozzie Bear.
did you know that Miss Piggy is essentially Yoda? And yeah, I blew someone's mind over that because they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
And Fozzie the Bear. All three are the same person.
Yeah. Please continue. I'm sorry I disturbed you, Gary.
No, Frank
Welcome,
Oz
Hamill,
was
please.
originally not. Frank Oz was not the voice of Yoda, but Lucas was impressed with his performance, even though he's just supposed to be reading the lines, that he got him to come back and do the ADR and revoice all of the Yoda scenes, which is one of the only things that really Mark Hamill could hear, because he wore an earpiece in his right ear. And I remember the joke. He says, at one moment I could kind of hear like Yoda saying something about some great line. And then I turned my head and then I heard the Rolling Stones playing, picking up the BBC radio. And the director, Irvin Kershner, which is the next thing I was going to say, is Irvin Kershner, when he agreed to do this film, Lucas had to agree not to backseat direct the film.
Yep.
That this is my movie. Oh, pause right here. Those lights, see all those lights there? That row of lights? All from the movie The Shining. Those were the hedge lights. Those are the lights from the hedgerow.
How many are there? Because I see only 4 lights.
There are only 4 lights. I mean, come on, that's a given.
Got it. I made Keith laugh. I'm done. I made Keith laugh. I am
I
done.
laughed on the inside, but I agreed with it. There were several items from the movie that are in this movie, but those are the only ones I could find. Those are the lights from the hedgerow, because it was shot at the same studio. And by the way, I think it's interesting, the scene where R2-D2 is outside worried about Luke Skywalker. He's got his little radar going, like searching, and 3PO turns, he'll be all right. he's always all right, and then walks inside, and you realize that angle that you're looking as he goes inside the blast doors. That's the same doors and the same set from the same angle that he enters Jabba's lair.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, I never noticed that before, but that's the exact same spot where the gate is. Yeah, it's the same thing. I thought that was weird. And by the way, the rebel general here, if you don't recognize him, is the rebel general. Is the general from Full Metal Jacket that asks, "Is that a peace sign on your helmet, son? You need to get your head into the game." That's the same actor. He lived in England because he knew that there weren't that many American actors in England. So if they ever needed American actors, he would get guaranteed work, which is true. By the way, before watching the show today, we did watch Paul's Empire Strikes Back special over on Heavy Spoilers. A very good video if you've never seen it. It's a must-see. And I also have invited him back on the show, Keith.
Cool.
This is a great scene. Originally, at the end of this, the camera was supposed to pull back and show a Wampa crashing through the wall. And it was shot. But the fact is this whole movie is about Han Solo trying to get Leia to admit how she feels. And that's why the scene at the end is so important, right before he goes into carbon freeze, that she finally admits how she feels when she says, "I love you." And his line is so fitting for him to say, "I know."
Originally, he was supposed to say, "I love you too," but
I love
he
you
found
too,
that
but
cheesy.
it was cheesy. And it's more fitting that he say that because his character has been aware of it the whole time.
Well, his cool factor just went up about 40 points.
That's
what
every
goes
guy,
up here too.
Yeah, you're badass. You go out as a badass.
Well, his cool banner goes up a lot here too because he does a typical John Wayne thing here. He mounts that fucking horse, or in this case, Tauntaun. The way they talk. He climbs on that Tauntaun, and this is, "Well, then I'll see you in hell." Great Western line. That's a cowboy line.
Well, he'd already made several Westerns by the time they shot this film.
Well, he came up in TV Westerns like Gunsmoke.
Yes. Gunsmoke, and at least 2 episodes of Kung Fu, and it's and made a movie or 2.
And that is a really cool scene, Slasher Fred. I showed it to Anima earlier, where he starts to walk past the door, then he turns around, goes back, and tears it off, and then you cut later to see an Imperial troopers push the button to open the door, and one of them gets yanked inside by a big hairy hand, and then the other one shuts the door, and they're like listening in, and Darth Vader's standing there, and that's the part that makes it unusable. By having Darth Vader in the shot, you can't have Darth Vader in a funny scene.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Vader would have ripped through that Wampa.
Oh yeah, using the Force.
No, yeah.
It is a funny scene, but it wouldn't work because they fucked up and put Darth Vader in the shot.
Yes, he is, Ariel. Yes, he is. He's look. The character of Han Solo is a mixture of a lot of the very obvious, very out there males that you had, especially in stuff like Flash Gordon. Han really is Baron. He's Prince Baron, and for Buck Rogers, he's oh man, what character was that? A character that was kind of similar for the Buck Rogers character, and it was just that easy. And if you're someone who grew up with that stuff, you grew up in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, a lot of that is easily identifiable within these characters, so.
Well, one thing I do want to point out is it's said in some of the making of notes that Harrison Ford refused to sign the sequel agreements, and because he'd had a bad experience at that. And I'm like, with what? He didn't do any other properties like that before, so I don't know where that information came from. But Harrison Ford did, he made him negotiate for each one, and everybody thought that Han Solo's that was it. Lucas wasn't sure he'd get him back, but the way he got him back was a promise that his character would be more heroic and have more to do in Return of the Jedi. And so that's why he came back. And I hated what they did to Han Solo in Return of the Jedi because, stepping on a twig and the whole, what? It's me. Those are just so fucking annoying.
They made him a buffoon.
He's a buffoon.
Nice, Chewie. Nice. Thinking with your stomach.
Well, Jedi is more of the childish one of the three. It is definitely a children's movie.
Before we go there, because you've got a point there, Keith, let's really get to the crux of this. Is the personal decision or the firing of Gary Kurtz? And okay, so Lucas had a semi amount of control by Empire, but he was constantly afraid he was going to lose it because he was financing this film himself. I think 35 million out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And he was concerned though, because they were going over schedule and over budget. So at one point he had to go back to 20th Century Fox and had to sweeten the deal for Fox in order to do more. And Gary Kurtz was there for one reason and one reason only, is to keep Lucas grounded and to stop making wild fucking ideas and going off on tangents, which is something Lucas does. And Kurtz was there to keep him grounded, anchored to the ground, and not getting lofty in his ideas. And Lucas resented that because there were so many of his ideas that weren't in Star Wars or in Empire because, Kurtz kept keeping him from doing them. He's like, come on, stay focused. And when Empire hit the box office, it was the biggest box office smash. I think in today's dollars, it earned $1.5 billion is what it earned. Its first run, equivalency to 1980. Okay. So at that point, Kurtz was done. The minute that film became that successful, Lucas said, bye-bye. You're out of here. And, for licking your wounds, it said he left. It was an amicable decision and all that. But as well as I do that Kurtz was pretty much shown the door by Lucas. And here's why. Let me go ahead and get to you. The disagreements on Return of the Jedi. Kurtz reportedly clashed with Lucas over the plot of Return of the Jedi, which he felt was moving away from the darker character-driven narrative that he had envisioned. Lucas. He wanted more focus on the character development and less predictable plot, potentially including the death of Han Solo. And this just wasn't going to work with Lucas. And he could have won some wars and gotten Ford back, just like they did. But the fact is Lucas hit that point where he said, I don't need you anymore, and cut him loose. And that is why the tonality of Return of the Jedi is completely different from Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because Gary Kurtz was gone. Am I correct or am I not?
Yes. Gary Kurtz was the one that was really helping to infuse, I think, one of the more necessary components with both Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back that separated those two films from all the other attempts to make movies like that by other people. In fact, even after that, it boggles my mind that nobody ever decided to step up and pay Gary Kurtz money to help them improve their films. to work in that respect with other people who were making science fiction and or adventure films, because he's definitely a guy that works. The way he works improves films. That's the long and short of it.
And by the way, who did he hire to replace him? Do you remember?
For Return of the Jedi?
No. He got someone to step in to do the job for him on that one. But no, eventually he hired another producer to work with Lucas.
Oh, yes. For the prequel, Rick McCallum.
Yeah, Rick McCallum started with Lucas with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. He was his producer on Radioland Murders, and eventually also worked on the special editions of the Star Wars trilogy, first Star Wars trilogy, and then worked with him on the others. And why? Because Rick McCallum is a fucking sycophant. He's a fucking yes man. That's all he is. And if you watch the making of the Star Wars prequels, you will see him going, yeah, I love it. Every fucking stupid idea Lucas had, McCallum's like, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. And you can't rewrite history. That's exactly what he is. He was a suck up to George Lucas. And that's all Lucas wanted, was someone that'll agree with his ideas. Because he couldn't stand that about Kurtz.
He loved those boom balls. Pisa go a booma.
Booma. Rick McCallum, man. I mean, because there's that scene in that making of documentary where he says, Lucas was like, this is what is that guy's name? The Gungan. What's his name?
Jar Jar.
This is Jar Jar's story. This is his story. And Rick McCallum, yeah. Fucking Rick McCallum. I fucking hate that guy. I love George Lucas, but George Lucas always needs a wrangler. Guys like that need wranglers. They really do. Because he has no fundamental understanding how to curb his ideas. And that's how we ended up with Ewoks instead of Wookiees in Return of the Jedi. Because it's supposed to take place on Kashyyyk with Wookiees.
That's how we ended up with THX 1136 or 38 or
yeah,
whatever.
1138.
So
well, 1138 is his first movie. He made that way for anything else. And I actually
still
do like
need wrangling though.
That's the problem when he's left to his own devices. But Gary Kurtz had worked with him all the way back to American Graffiti, and Kurtz knew how to rein him in. He
add to what he did.
And add to what he did.
Yeah, that while Lucas may not have seen it, Kurtz really was his best partner. Period. Mm-hmm. Kurtz was the number one piece he needed. He could have had everybody else, but it would not have turned out as well, because you needed to have someone like Gary Kurtz that, in my opinion, was a fan of this work. And what I mean by that is he was a science fiction fan, but he wasn't dumb about it. His whole thing was he could actually envision even things that Lucas didn't see within his own work. But he wasn't there to try to take it over, and he wasn't there to suck up. He was there like really a good music. Yes, he was a good music producer. If you ever know what the job of a producer is on making an album, that's the exact thing. He saw what Lucas was doing, and he helped him get to the essentials of what needed to be done. And that was the important thing about Gary Kurtz.
Yeah. Hey, Anima, they're wanting to know if you're still here or not.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Now, this is a different scene, Anima, than what we watched. This is the special edition that he's got here. This is the version where we get to see the Wampa in the other room, the other chamber of the cave.
Yeah, we've seen that in one of the documentaries that we watched.
Yeah, in the documentaries. This is the shot that I talked about, that if you get this in 1080p or even up into 4K, you can actually see "Made in New York" on the bottom of the lightsaber right there, because that is still the same fucking prop from the original film. That is the same prop. And I think that would have been funny if they'd had a scene, an outtake where he goes, "Made in New York City."
Where is this magical place of New York City?
It's a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, let's see.
And by the way,
Where
for
everybody's
everybody,
got
if
a
you didn't
foul
notice,
mouth.
I'm wearing my Star Wars hat today. I bought this during the Jubilee 25th anniversary.
See, I should. Yeah. Mine's back at my house. So
Yeah, I have
Now,
a Star
this is
Wars
a scene.
T-shirt, but it's too hot.
Mine
This is the
is
scene I was
non-existent.
talking about. This cave entrance is the exact same cave entrance for Jabba's palace.
mhm.
I just thought that was pretty wild. Never
That is
noticed
wild.
it before until watching it recently. Oh my god, that's the same entrance.
A lot dustier though.
Colder too.
I
Well,
mean,
instead of dust and sand, it's snow. It's
it's
still a desert.
I hate that fake snow that they used to use. It's terrible.
Are you talking about the foam stuff, or what are you talking about?
No. I don't know what they used in 1980, but in 1984 or 5, they started using this. It's not really foam, sort of half sand kind of a thing that they used, and it's terrible.
Some films use salt.
Yeah, salt or something. No, there's a material. It's very much like a puffed up sand or something like that. It's not
That's
really
weird.
foam.
By the way, this guy here, that's and you'll see him again later. That's Cliff Clavin from Cheers. This deck officer.
Yeah, he was getting around to a lot of movies.
I thought
Yeah,
you
because
meant.
he was in.
I thought
he
you
was
meant
in King
Chewie.
Kong
Superman.
Returns. No. King Kong Returns. He was in
Yeah.
that one. He's all over the place.
Was he playing King Kong?
No, but he played a lot of military guys. Almost always in a military uniform.
Wait a
Maybe
minute, he
that's why-
wasn't Superman.
Maybe that's why Cliff Clavin was a big know-it-all, because he was in everything.
Now, this is another one. They weren't sure if they're going to be able to get Alec Guinness back, because I'm sorry, I'm so focused on doing the show, I'm not even paying attention to jokes, because I really want to put some information out there to make
Mhm.
these
It's okay.
shows worth their time to watch.
It's okay. I'm
So,
already half asleep. It's fine.
no,
We're only
conflict.
8 minutes into the slideshow.
Yeah.
We're going to be here forever.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness, was only able to come back due to being paid a fucking ton of money.
Yep.
What he ended up earning was like equivalent to $150 million because he was given an additional 0.25%. Now, what's really interesting here is that he was blind at this point. He lost his ability to read and everything. So they had to work with him in ways to make this work. And of course, having him as a ghost worked perfectly for him. So he didn't have to physically be on the set. And being on the set here in Norway was a fucking nightmare. One of the worst winter storms they had had in decades hit while making this movie. And in fact, while the entire crew was filming from the comfort of the lodge that they were living in, Mark Hamill was the only one that had to go out in it. And they shot from a door.
And they
Actually-
were torturing him about it. They were not
Actually,
nice.
there's a story from the diary of the making of the film. Irvin Kershner got stuck out in it. Everybody was back at the lodge. He wanted to go out in advance and just scout out a few things. And he ended up becoming trapped out there because the helicopter that took him out couldn't come back.
Yeah, because the
And he
story.
wasn't dressed appropriately
Yeah,
for the weather.
too bad he didn't have McCready to fly him back. Now, one of the other neat things here that was done visually was that the ghost, as it dissolves, becomes Han Solo riding up on his tauntaun. And I always
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. It was a trade-off between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Lean, a Brit with a bunch of British actors, agreed to make a Frenchman's look into a movie where he knew that it was French officers that collaborated with the Japanese, but made it the Brits, and the Brits agreed to put that in their fucking movie. And we wonder why so many of the fucking veterans, the former POWs, walked out on that movie when it
Yep.
premiered. David Lean. It's a beautiful film, but it's a piece of shit because it's a lie.
Historically, yes.
Cinematically gorgeous, gorgeous movie.
Isn't that what?
Historically atrocious.
Isn't that like that one Matthew McConaughey movie that they did? U5157.
Oh, U517. It's a
U5157.
submarine, but a submarine movie.
That's the one with
Yes.
Harrison Ford, right?
I thought that was the
No.
one with
I don't think so.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh no, yes, that's
Supposedly-
what they where they get the codes. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And that's supposed to. They made it all Americans, even though the actual mission was carried out by the British.
By the British. Yep. Yep. Alpha's here. Alpha knows.
Thank you, Alpha.
Moses shit.
Now, this guy here on screen dies later. He has a heroic death. But he's the one who finds him alive and well. Again, those are the lights from the maze. And it looks like he's doing a little bit of disco dancing in that Bacta fluid. You know, doing the hand movement. Mark Hamill and his disco.
Maybe he was. You never know.
And by the way, it's been denied many, many times before, but the reason why he got attacked by the Wampa at the beginning the way he did was to explain Mark Hamill's scars and the difference in his nose, because his nose is completely different than what it was in Star Wars.
Because he was an idiot.
Yeah, he was an idiot, and he was in a car wreck that damn near killed him.
Yep.
And 7 was a total lie. The RN grabbed the codes and the Enigma rotors off a couple of different German ships. The Pierre Buell, Pierre Buell, that's the guy, had written a book with the name. Yep, that's right. And he changed history in the book, making it out to be the Brits instead of the French, and it was the French who collaborated.
Pierre Buell. Pierre Buell.
Monkey Planet, Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah. Another story that nobody's ever really told of.
Rod
his.
Serling's version of it's pretty good, though. I like his adaptation.
And they still haven't filmed that one
into
either.
a comic book, because the comic book is based on his original script, and it's
Yeah.
a really good comic book.
If somebody will have the guts to actually make that someday.
And by the way, somebody did translate what the droid said, and it says, "It is here. This is the rebel base."
Says, and if you pay attention, you can discern the words. It says, "I'm scanning the systems. There are. I see the rebel base."
Yep. I always love this scene. This reminded me of something right out of a Western, the way they did this. And by the way, there's this guy that's got a video out there. I blocked him. I don't ever want to see his garbage on my fucking again. He was saying all sorts of bad information about the history of Star Wars, and that the weapons in Star Wars were based on all these real guns. I'm like, no, they weren't based on them. They were built onto the real guns because they needed blank firing guns for the film. So the Mauser that Harrison and Mark Hamill eventually carries himself were Mausers. And yes, the stormtrooper guns were Sten guns. You know, these were real functional weapons that were used to fire blanks. By the way, I love this, where he tries to tell the admiral was it? What's that admiral's name? I forgot his name. That's Captain Pyatt or
Pierce.
At this point, it's Admiral Piet because Ocel is already
No. Piet
Piet
is the
is
one
the
that
good-
takes over.
Yeah, he
Okay.
takes over. The
Veers.
first one,
Again,
Colonel Veers.
at this point, Ocel is already dead. He has been there for like 15 minutes, and Piet is now the admiral.
no. This
No.
is the one that's about to die. This guy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I
He's
saw
the
the slide
current
and I thought
admiral.
it was.
And he's arguing with Piet the way you're arguing with me right now, nonsensically. And
Except that I just said yes, you were right. I
And
was
then just like
mistaken by the
Heath-
slide.
Heath hearing the whole thing and agreeing with me, Darth Vader walks up and calls him out on his bullshit. You found something? Yeah. Yes, we did, Lord Vader. And then he shows him and he makes this admiral look bad. And then he fucks up again by coming out of light speed too close to the planet, giving up their position, and Darth Vader chokes him out in front of everybody, which is fucking awesome because they're all like,
And
Don't react to it.
slowly.
by the way,
he's
that's
getting
Ralph
into it.
McQuarrie. That's Ralph McQuarrie, the artist right there that walked
Wow.
by. That's his cameo. And it's
There's somebody.
rumored that
Oh, go ahead.
the container he's carrying is all of the Star Wars artwork as sort of an inside thing.
Treat Williams is somewhere in here too.
I'm not surprised he found a way to get in there.
Well, he was in London. He knew Carrie and a few other people, and so they put him in the movie in this scene.
Now, this is the same telescopic droid from Star Wars that you see out in the desert. It's the same one they used. In fact, they squeezed in every single droid they made from the first film into this movie.
Well,
I don't think there's any way for them to not see it coming. But I think Darth Vader is wanting to launch his attack from further out, where their sensors wouldn't be reading. And by the way, if you didn't know this, NASA did find a ice planet. It's it would be classified as a Class M planet, but it was an ice planet, and NASA named it Hoth.
Really?
Yeah.
that's cool.
I love this scene because when he walks, oh wait, no, it's later. Later, when Piet walks in, and you see the back of Darth Vader's head all scarred and shit, you see Piet wince in disgust. I agree, Slasher Fred. I love that. Oh, there we go. He's like, he's fucking dying. There's this other officer back there seeing the whole thing. He's like, don't react. You know, he's like, you can tell by his face. He's like, I'm not reacting to what's happening here. I'm just go with it. Just go with it.
Please don't permit me. Please don't permit me. Please don't permit me.
And when the conversation begins between Darth Vader and Piet, he calls him Captain Piet. And
Yep.
then at the end of it, he says, Admiral Piet.
Got the promotion. Darn it.
And there he is again. There's Norm from Cheers.
No.
Yeah. I think Treat
Not
Williams
Norm,
is
I'm
in.
sorry, Cliff Clavin.
Wait.
Yeah, yeah.
That's Cliff
I think-
Clavin.
I was gonna say, did you mean Cliff Clavin? Because that's definitely not George Wendt. May he
Yeah.
rest in peace.
Worst acting in the whole film, right there. This guy.
Well, he's an extra.
He is now.
Our first catch of the day. It's like, what the fuck? That's how you want to say that. Okay. I'd say Piet was good at his job. I mean, he's the one that spotted him.
He lasted until that A-wing slammed into that bridge.
Yep.
Who
By the
knows
way,
how far he would go.
I do like the Dak character, but he goes nowhere because he immediately dies in their first run.
Yeah.
That teacher trying to make friends with Luke Skywalker.
Man, it seems like the only pilot that survives these wings are Luke and Wedge.
Wedge. Yeah.
Yep, Wedge. By the way, 11 Alpha, yes, he always played soldiers. It's weird. He just always got cast. Can't be the worst if it's been made into a meme, Gary. I beg to differ. By the way, one of the cool things is, and I was talking to Anna about this earlier, that when they initially did the visual effects for this, shooting matte shots on in space is easy because the black borders won't show up. But shooting matte shots with a white and blue background, whole different story. So the big trouble they ran into that they're trying to do this control where they do so much of the resolution, it would start looking wrong. So what they found was then they would drop the opacity a little bit. So when you saw Star Wars, and I noticed it as a kid, that I could see through objects like the snowspeeder, the cockpit. You could see through it. You could see the mountains. You could see the AT-AT. And come to find out, that was the sacrifice they had to make. But by the time that they put out the special editions, they'd figured out how to fix that, and so that was cleaned up. And I if they had just cleaned it up with the special editions, I would have been fine. But it's
in the despecialized version, it's still semi-translucent, but not as much as the original.
In the Addy-Wan version, and if you've never seen it, Meph, I highly recommend checking out Addy-Wan's Star Wars A New Hope and Addy-Wan's Empire Strikes Back. Give them a try. I think you'll like them. He cleaned them up in that too. Oh, there's Luke Skywalker sex doll.
What?
No, thank you.
Wow.
He had his mouth up. The AT-ATs in this are so fucking good. And there's been a fight for years. Is it AT-ATs or AT-AT? It's either one. George Lucas called them AT-ATs, and all of us that grew up in that period called them AT-ATs. But then comes the AT-ST, which is called the AT-ST, or Chicken Walker, or Scout Walker.
I love both of them because they're so not utilitarian looking. But to me, it's sort of like to me I always call them the AT-AT, but I don't mind AT-AT. It's the same. It's sort of like Hannibal's elephant, you know.
Well, that's done that way. It was done on purpose,
right? It's sort of like reminiscent of that. It always did, and they are fearsome looking, but I never thought there would be that much of a difference.
This is, of course, Wedge Antilles, played by what actor? I forget his name, Keith. Keith's not here.
Anthony, not Anthony. Oh, geez.
Anyway, he is Ewan McGregor's uncle.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Is he British or something?
Yeah.
I never heard him speak.
In fact, I do believe he's Scottish, like Ewan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I love this. They trip up the walker, falls forward.
Gambit. I think John Williams will go down as one of the greatest composers of all time.
The
Absolutely agree.
greatest composer.
Like Bach and like Beethoven, Mozart, Vivaldi. You put Williams on that. Because it's not only that he was a great composer, or still is, but it's not just that he was a good or great composer. He has his style. you hear him in different
Bless you.
movies, and you
But you
can
know it's him,
definitely tell
always.
this is John Williams. Like
Yeah.
you can put on Harry Potter or Jurassic Park, and you can immediately know this is the same guy. Oh, and this is, of course, Sting before Sting was Sting.
This is the actor that played Donovan in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
The great
Yes, he
Julian Glover.
In this, Julian Glover, he plays the part of General Veers, the head of the Imperial Ground Forces.
And he's got a great American accent, but he's actually an English actor.
He's a limey prick.
And he is 90.
By the way, this is the scene where the guy who rescues Luke and Han at the beginning. This is his moment where he buys the farm, as they say.
Doesn't he bite the farm?
Buys the farm. It's called buy the farm.
Oh.
It's an old term meaning that the last plot of land you buy is where your body goes.
I always heard bit the farm. So,
Julian Glover had a nice.
It's bit the dust or buy the farm. So somebody screwed up the euphemism.
He had a nice career. Indiana Jones, of course, but also For Your Eyes Only.
He's also in Doctor Who.
Treasure Island. And, of course, Quartermass, 5 Million Years to Earth.
He's also in Doctor Who.
No, yeah. 6'2". Tall guy. Real tall guy.
And by the way, speaking of Doctor Who, Bosk's space outfit that he's wearing in this, that's the lizard bounty hunter, is taken from the Doctor Who props department. Because that was in Doctor Who.
Yep.
Same outfit.
all right, guys. I know we're still in Hoth, but I need to go to bed.
All right, buddy, get going.
All right.
Good night.
We'll see you later.
So, I love you. I know, and goodbye. Good night.
You, buddy.
So
See
long.
you, man.
I'll try and be back on Friday. We'll see.
All right, buddy.
There is no try.
There is no Friday.
Do-
I'll go.
There is
I'll
do
go to
or
bed
do
then.
not.
Yes, there is no Friday. See ya.
See you, buddy. I wanted to point something out here because it was brought to my attention in this too, that this laser blast that goes over the soldiers' heads towards the power station is bigger. And they did that on purpose to make it look like it was that right there. This blast is made to look like it's bigger than anything else that the AT-ATs fire, because this is a shot specially made just for destroying the power station.
Well, Veer says maximum firepower, so
17.28 what? Inches? Miles? Kilometers? Clicks? Meters? There's the sign that is in the outtake. That sign is a warning that there are wampas on the other side of that door. Trapped. And so 3PO goes past it and then comes back and tears it down in the outtake. Well, that's because he's terrible at aim. Hey, look who's here.
Hi, Zax.
oh, allow me.
Hey, fuck you, Carl.
Or don't.
I didn't. I love this movie set, but this is part set and part matte painting.
Yep.
And it's so well done, I still don't see it.
And that's as it should be.
Oh, you know what was the one that gets me? And what? That was a fucking matte paint. the
thing.
windows of the Star Destroyer of Vader.
Oh yeah.
I always
It's the windows up. It's from the windows up.
yeah.
Is
I
matte
always
painting.
thought that was a build set.
Ellen Shaw. It's the Ellen Shaw family. They were really good at it. Sex. But that's a name that you should Google. The Ellen Shaws, or an incredible family of matte painters. There was supposed to be a lot more in the original Star Trek television series.
And these were actually originally shot in color, but they were turned to black and white because the mats around the ship weren't right. So by turning the film into black and white and then colorizing it again later, hand painting the color, the blue back into R2D2 and all that shit was done later. Poor 3PO, man. He's just trying to tell him this that the hyperdrive isn't working.
He's a very anxious robot. I like that. Like every time he walks away and says, "Oh dear," to himself.
Now I'm going to point out that the engine sound that you hear here when the hyperdrive doesn't work is the exact same sound you hear on Jock's plane in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
It's the same sound effect.
Great sound library there.
Yep. Ben Burt. He said, "I've been trying to tell you so. It's impossible to go at light speed." I love this
Nobody ever
when
listens to him.
when the toolbox falls on Han Solo's head. Just cracked me up in the theater. Right here. Like those tools slide down. He goes, "That wasn't a laser blast. Something hit us." And by the way, if you're a true Star Wars nerd, you could recite the entire film. And we used to do that all the time as kids.
I used to have the script to this movie.
Yes, I do. In answer to that question, yes, they need it. It's called Nava charts or Nava computer. They're the ones who chart for you. So it's not like they have to unfold a map or anything. Okay, I love you, Sandra. Go fuck yourself with that. That's a terrible suggestion.
Yeah, he's too many places.
Yeah, I'm sick of him.
Oh, a guy cannot fucking act.
Yeah, and he's everywhere.
They're about to learn their lesson with Fantastic F Up.
Yeah.
They had to build an all-new Millennium Falcon just for the stunts that the ship had to do in this film.
Wait,
Because the previous model kit couldn't handle the stress of all the turning.
Yep.
Wait, there's a misconception here. No, Anima, they do not have hyperspace routes. What they have are maps, and the computer in real time tries to plot to make a plot according from they where they are at that moment and where they're going to go. So
I
there is
just
not
explained that a minute ago. I just explained that.
yes, but what she got is that there are pre-planned routes. No, there are not.
They're not pre-planned routes. You have a Nava computer, Nava charting constantly, and you have to work out the coordinates before you can go into hyperspace. No, but they still have to plan where they're going. Is that your cat?
No,
No.
that's coming from Keith.
That's the kids. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
That was my cat.
Yeah, they still have to chart where they're going in Star Trek. That's part of the job of the helmsman to chart everything. It's just like being on the ocean. You got to map everything out before you go there. Now, this is something I don't like that they changed for the special edition at all. This pissed me off because after R2 gets spit out by this swamp creature, when Luke finds him and pulls him out of the water and back over this log, he says, "You're lucky you didn't taste good."
Yeah.
And they changed it to another line. And I didn't like that because it didn't work anywhere near as well. It's a much better line when he says, "You're lucky you don't taste good."
I don't understand why they changed that line.
What was explained on one of the making of videos is that the audio was better when they went to do it. And so they kept that one. And I call bullshit on that. That was on Paul. Go watch Paul, heavy spoilers video. And he talks about it, but even he felt it was a better line too, that they shouldn't have done that. But that was their reasoning for doing it. And I call bullshit. What did they change it to? It was something benign. It's so bad, I can't even fucking remember it, Ariel. That's how bad it was. Okay,
yeah.
This is where you see Admiral Piet wince when he sees Darth Vader's head. I love that. And somebody joked to me the other day that under that helmet, it's just basically the makeup that he wore as Frankenstein for Hammer. Because it looks like it. It really does from behind. Yeah, I'd have to open up that video again and go all the way to that point. Pedro Pascal is the Hollywood ideal. He checks a DE checkbox without being too ethnic for Hollywood. And he's so gay, and they like that. They really like that he's really, really kind of gay.
I didn't even know that. That's how much I care about this person.
He's constantly doing gay stuff in publicity. Always. It's just funny.
Yeah. Oh my.
He's not doing it like the way I do, being slightly ironic.
Well, he's partially doing it because he has a sibling. But my whole thing is you can be proud of your sibling and still be your own person and do your own thing. But that's how out of sorts Hollywood is right now.
Yeah. By the way, Snort, once he understood that his voice was going to be dubbed, he would fuck up lines on purpose to say something stupid or funny. And so when he was on the set doing that scene where asteroids don't concern me, Admiral, I want that ship. What he actually said was on set was hemorrhoids don't concern me, Admiral. I want to shit.
I like that.
Wow.
And that's according to him in his own biography. Yeah, that was brought up a little bit ago, Gambit. Yes, that is correct. Keith was talking about that. Now, this whole thing here, people don't understand what's going on here, is he's testing Luke Skywalker's patience on purpose, which is why later he starts talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi. He says he has no patience. I cannot teach him. Yeah, were you not here, Gambit? Because I brought all of this up.
Yeah, he's just copy pasting again, bringing up all the shit that we've talked about.
Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If that's what you're doing, okay. But I hope you're not trying to say that we didn't talk about this already, because we did. You can't miss it. It's like every fucking place. I can't walk around with blinders on, even though I've thought about it. Don't worry about it, buddy. If you just copy and paste, and don't worry about it. I thought you were saying that we hadn't talked about it. So he leaves poor R2 in charge of the camp, which of course R2 doesn't do well. He's like a toddler. He doesn't do well with being alone.
Oh, we have a breach.
Now this is where they got their idea for the Nava computer coming from that asshole feminist robot used in Solo. And I do have to say, as a compliment, Solo is the only Star Wars film by Disney that doesn't seem to fuck up the tech and when it came out.
Thank you.
So it's more
for Ariel,
Oh, be nice.
we could do this one.
How'd you get in the house?
You just told me an idea for a movie. It's not bad so far. Sit down, have a drink. Tell Karen, see what she thinks.
Maybe you didn't hear me.
Well, I came in the back door.
Ooh, I forgot we have that one.
Now, this I always found interesting because everybody knows that Carrie Fisher was in love with Harrison Ford, fell for him in the first film, had an affair with him. And so her feelings hadn't changed by this film. So she, she is all into all these scenes with him. But I will say that she had a serious cocaine problem when she made this movie. Serious cocaine problem.
She was also sick and lost way too much weight.
Half of those snow scenes on Hoth, it's just her cocaine.
Oh, jeez.
She could have bankrolled the whole production.
Yeah, he's in a lot of IPs, dude. Absolutely, Alpha. They kept complaining about, every morning they would show up at work, like, why is all of the snow on the set in lines?
Oh, God.
Yeah, he is absolutely a cock blocker. Even Anima said something akin to that while we're watching it, that he was kind of being a cock blocker.
Yeah, I said something like, dude, read the room, go back, come in 5 minutes later. So inappropriate.
I don't know if it was Lucas, but she was told to lose weight. And her response was more cocaine.
Well, she also was working while having bronchitis or something, if I remember correctly.
Well, I feel so bad for her because it's her abuse of cocaine that eventually killed her.
Damn.
Yeah, she had severe sleep apnea, and mixed with the sleep apnea, she had already had heart problems. And for those who don't know, Lucas thought he was having a heart attack while he was making Star Wars. And come to find out, he had severe hypertension along with a potential heart condition. And so basically he had to take it easy. And that's why he decided that he would have to step back on the next two films. And because it's too stressful, directing and doing everything else. And he basically really took on the role as producer. And he took on that role not with relish, but he really did take it seriously. And he would come down on his teacher, Irvin Kershner, who was directing this, and remind him about money and stuff. But like I said, they ran the budget. First, the schedule went over, then it went over budget, and Lucas had to figure out where to get that money from. And he didn't want to relinquish control, but he went to Fox, and Fox just made a deal that they get more on the back end. And that was it. And he was so grateful because he was afraid they were going to ask for control over Star Wars, and they didn't. And so he got that extra money. What about Dot Matrix?
Oh, that 3PO interrupting Han and
Oh.
Leia is like the same thing.
Oh, this is so great because right before you cut to this interior shot, you have the Avenger in the background and a regular Star Destroyer in the foreground. And one of the fucking asteroids hits the bridge. And then they cut to the interior and you see the Imperial officer on the left go, ah! And then his hologram disappears. He was clearly the deck officer on the
And nobody
Star Destroyer.
Shit.
Nobody reacts to it. Darth Vader don't give a shit.
Well, no. He doesn't care about his underlings.
Well, that's a awful change from his former self, because in the Clone Wars he loved his troops.
I actually believe Hail in Place that that Debbie Reynolds didn't die too long afterward. And I think the reason why is because it broke her heart when Carrie died.
I think that they died in the same month, or
Yes,
even in
they
the
did.
same week.
It was
A parent just shouldn't bury their own child. That's against nature.
And like Paul from Heavy Spoilers, and I agree with him, I prefer Jeremy Bullock's Boba Fett. I just think it sounds better. Replacing him with what's his name? I just forgot his name. Oh my god,
Tamura Morrison.
Yeah, Morrison. The way he delivers the line is different than the way Jeremy did it. The pacing's different, and I just don't like it. Yeah, it was pretty close. It was really close. So yeah, that could be true.
Really?
Sander.
Just wow.
It was just shocking. I think Carrie dying is what killed her.
Yeah.
And by the way, the asteroids in this scene, some of the stuff that are further away from the camera are just potatoes. And in one case, it's a pair of tennis shoes. No shit. For real. The guys at Industrial Light and Magic are weird motherfuckers.
They are also creative. That's the guy Vader's talking to is the one where the actor is actually blind, right? So they have him as a hologram.
The actor that played Wedge Antilles is Dennis Lawson, the uncle of Ewan McGregor. Well, the way they saw it is it's so far away, you're not going to see surface details. So they just used potatoes. And then in one case, a guy put his tennis shoe, either one tennis shoe or both in. Mark Hamill, I don't know how he did this scene, man. I could not be in a tiny set like that. It would fucking freak me out.
And he had to bump his head on the ceiling so many times until they were satisfied with his reaction to it. He had
Either
a hard
that
time
or
doing this movie.
or George was trolling him.
Yeah.
And by the way, the name Yoda comes from, I think the word is Yotha. It's this Persian word, I think, or possibly Indian, which means warrior when translated. Oh, what would have been funny is if it was potato chips. I didn't know I was claustrophobic until I had my first MRI.
Damn, that's a hell of a way of finding out.
Yeah, because I've been in closed spaces, never bothered me. Got inside that fucking giant drum, and it's like you lay on, it's a circular drum. It's not the big round one. It's a flat one. You lay on it, and then they lower another giant drum right on top of you. And holy shit. Felt like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, I've always
Ugh.
known that I'm claustrophobic because I could never go into small spaces. So if ever I need to do that, they need to knock me out. There's no way
What's
I
this,
go into
Gambit?
that conscious.
I don't know whether there was a bias against British actors being heard. As Paul from Heavy Spoilers, Jeremy's actual voice should have been heard.
What's that about?
Is it? I don't know. What are you saying?
Jeremy Bullock.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about Paul from Heavy Spoilers. Jeremy's actual voice should have been heard, which he did. He did the voice of the original Boba Fett, as I recall.
Yeah, but I don't know, man.
And I had a wonderful breakfast and then later that day lunch with Jeremy. Really a very nice guy. And all we talked about was British military history because I happen to know a little bit. Well, they made it, the decision though, Gambit, was that anybody that worked with the Imperials needed to be British. And anybody that was with the Rebel Alliance needed to be American. And George Lucas was doing this as a psychological comparison in your head of the Revolutionary War with Britain against the United States. That's why they did it. By the way, the sound effect used for the Minoc when he shoots it is the sound of a horse played backwards.
Oh,
Interesting. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, see, Slasher, that was used by my dad long before this movie came out. When I was in boxing as well as baseball, I would get that thrown at me all the time. I would say, try. And he said, don't try, do it. To try is to admit failure. You're already accepting the possibility of failing. Don't go at it with, you're going to do this. And it was something that was beat into me as a kid, don't ever try. And so when I heard Yoda saying that, I'm like going, ah, crap, I have to tell my dad that he was right. Yeah, MRIs, man. No, thank you. And by the way, this is absolutely to give you the sense of Moby Dick or even the whale that ate Pinocchio with the way they made this space slug look like a giant white whale. And I always felt bad for Mark Hamill doing these scenes because he was like above the set, the only human moving around.
He had a lot of alone time while filming this.
Yep. I'll answer that question really quick. Look, your best. Everybody whines about doing their best. The winner goes home and fucks the prom queen. So I guess the answer is the winner goes home to fuck the prom queen. That's the answer to that question.
Or to quote another movie, why do we fall? So we learn how to get back up again.
Yeah.
Good film.
Absolutely. We missed you on that one, Keith.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there for that one because, ooh.
You're a Batman expert here.
Yeah. That one along with Man of Steel, the other Christopher Nolan movie that people keep forgetting is a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, he had nobody to act against in that movie. That was wrong, the way they did that. It just broke him down. He hated it.
Hey,
he
hello,
absolutely did have a breakdown. Yeah. What?
Classic Comics is here.
They had a snake problem. And in fact, I showed Anima the clip where Mark Hamill got bit. I showed her that clip.
That guy had it rough making this movie. I felt so bad watching the making ofs. I had no idea it was that bad for him.
Well, it was a movie with a lot of pressure. I mean, you're talking about following up one of the biggest movies ever released. And so from everything that surrounded Star Wars Mania, think about how they first of all had to hide the production, and second of all had to figure out how to do all this work and still be able to act like, it's 4 years ago, back when nobody really cared. So
Yeah. And ended up outperforming. It's amazing. By the way, the entrance to this tree always reminded me of the entrance to the temple in the painting for the cover of Splinter the Mind's Eye.
oh,
Right?
see,
Does it not remind you?
yes, that is the last pure Star Wars. If Kathleen finds a way of messing that one up, I'm done. I am just
Don't give
done.
her ideas, please.
How long?
There's an interesting talk about the Prowse came out a few years back. Yeah. Well, David Prowse felt that not only about Star Wars, and he complained a lot about almost each movie he worked in.
He was
But
always,
yes,
I was just going to say, when I met him, he was a very nice man to me and my kids. So,
yeah, I'm not talking about his.
yes, I know. But
Yeah,
I always
I
felt
mean,
kind of bad for him because, on the one hand, you are a part of all this, and it just seemed like he didn't really get a whole lot out of it compared to a lot of the others that worked on it.
indeed, and I always thought it was kind of an asshole move, not telling him that he was going to be dubbed. I mean, they should have tell him, not that he discovered that during the premiere. I would feel I would have felt betrayed too. Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen that documentary yet, and I would like very much to put my hands on it.
I have not heard that before.
Hmm.
Try not. Do or do not. There is no try. I like how Jorah is impressed by that amount of progress in just 2 days.
I
The
don't
thing,
know. Wouldn't you think he knew it all along that he has it in him? He just needs to find a way to get it out.
yeah, but even and this is the most important thing about Luke. Even the more gifted Jedi, they need training for years, and this guy is doing it all on his own, basically in 2 or 3 days.
Mm,
That
yeah.
that is why he became uh previous Disney wave of shit. He became the Grand Master Luke Skywalker, not Master, Grand Master.
Hmm.
The potential that he and Leia had was awesome.
Oh, her
Yeah.
too? Okay. Like I
Yeah.
said, I know nothing about this.
Oh, that must
Well,
be corrected.
they were really they excelled at different things though. You know, Leia is in many ways a lot like her dad.
Yes.
He is she is quick with figuring things out and
But quick
reaction.
in temper too.
She didn't really have a temper. I mean, she has the makings of one, but she's very strong headed, you know. And Luke is a lot like his mother.
Yes,
Uh,
he likes to look for alternatives, and his greatest talent in the expanded universe it was how to make an ally out of an enemy.
yep.
That that's
Well,
why I think he was indeed the perfect teacher for Leia to become a Jedi
yeah.
because he could tame her impulsiveness.
He had patience is really what he had, which is ironic. You know,
Yeah,
once he became a Jedi, he had a lot of patience. But also the fact that he could, like his mother, the final thing his mother ever really passed to him, I think, in a way, was the fact that she saw good within Anakin, within his father, and he's the only one that saw it. I mean, everybody had given up on his father except him.
well, yeah. Vader is not known by going fucking around. It don't-
Well, Bail Organa is also was a good father. You know, he had patience, the patience to be able to deal with the impulsiveness and impetuousness of Leia. You know, I'm one of the few that I don't count any of the things that I've seen Disney do. I don't count any of that stuff because it's just wrong headed. You know, there's no real plan there.
So, in other
Even
words, fuck Disney.
yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
I'm actually for now kind of glad that they've got nothing to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer for now. But
Don't jinx it.
By the way, we watched the Empire of Dreams, the making of the Star Wars trilogy, the first one.
yes,
And you know, nowhere in there does it mention that the money that George Lucas received to finish Star Wars was taken from Damnation Alley.
wow,
Damnation Alley, because that's one thing that we talked about when we had that film on, was that
Yep.
the completion money for the visual effects on that movie was taken away by Alan Ladd and given to George Lucas instead. And I always felt bad for that, but without it, we might not have Star Wars.
yeah. It's about having
So,
vision.
kidding.
Well, again, he's not the first one to do that. That happened with X-Men. You know, X-Men had some of its money removed, and it affected the some of the visual effects in the third act. Now, it didn't greatly affect it negatively, but once it's pointed out which scene we're talking about, and specifically the effect that it took, you can't unsee it. So,
You know, and I do want to point out that George Lucas is one of the reasons why Alan Ladd left 20th Century Fox, because after Return of the Jedi and the fact that Alan Ladd didn't ask for more back from him, is why Alan Ladd, during a right in the middle of a meeting, a board meeting, got up and walked out and basically said, "Fuck you guys, I quit." But it all happened because of Star Wars. And it always kind of bothered me that I never saw anywhere which George Lucas ever reached out to offer something to Alan Ladd for being that guy that stuck by his side in the producing of his trilogy.
Well, he's a saint in many ways. Every Star Wars fan should know his name because of what he did. And anybody that works in the business will tell you what it meant for what Alan Ladd did. Because you're right. There would be no Star Wars as we know it without Alan Ladd.
Alan Ladd Jr., Blade Runner, too. He saw, and he really stood up for those independent filmmakers. George Lucas, Ridley Scott, and they're not the only ones he stood up for. And, you know, a lot of people don't know this. We had Alan Ladd Jr. all the way up until 2022 when he finally died. You never hear anything about that guy. Never saw him in any interviews. He kept to his privacy. But
he was second generation Hollywood. And
son of Alan Ladd.
Yep.
Great fucking actor. Little tiny guy though.
But there's nothing wrong about being tiny, you asshole.
This is where you started hearing things about Alan Ladd that it wasn't so much I don't think he was uncomfortable with his height, but that the studio was, and they would make him walk on top of crates while everybody else would be in a lower section. So they would look like they're the same height when he was actually, they would tower over him.
Yeah, he would, let's put it this way. I think he was even shorter than some of the short guys we have nowadays.
Like Tom Cruise?
Or Michael Fox. Or I think he was about Michael Fox's height.
Let me just give you a handful of films that he was involved with. Okay. Chariots of Fire, Night Shift, Blade Runner, Outland, The Right Stuff, Police Academy, Gone Baby Gone. All the way back in 2007, he was involved with the making of that film. A Fish Called Wanda, Moonstruck, Thelma and Louise. And are you ready for this one? Braveheart and the Brady Bunch movie.
This guy was a true architect of how we see film. And he got Jack in return for it. There's a lot of people who owe him. Love.
And I felt that George Lucas is one of them that I don't think he ever did anything for him that I've ever heard of. That he ever did anything to give back to him for what he did for him.
And if he did,
it's always bothered me.
Yeah.
Well, we've just not heard about it. I've not heard about it. I've not seen it written anywhere. But man, now this is the scene that confounds so many people because they assume that they already knew it was going to be Princess Leia. And the reason why is because right after he delivers the line, "There is another," the next person you see is Leia. The first person you see after this scene is Leia up in the window. And so people have said, oh, well, that's because George Lucas intended. I don't think he intended that yet. I don't think that was in the cards until they started pre-production for the next film. And he realized that the logic says it should be her, even though there's that whole discomfort thing of all the kissing with Mark. I love THX 1138. I really do. I own it. I disagree with several critics on YouTube about the special edition of THX 1138. I actually prefer it over the original. I think it's clearer in what he was doing. And I love the CG he added to it. I don't care what anybody says. I liked it. So this is where he flies off, and then lit in red, Yoda goes, "No, there is another." And then we're back on Bespin, and the first person you see is her in the window. And so people have made the statement that because she's the first person you see, clearly it's her. he was saying it all the way back in. And I said, no, I don't think so. See, first person you see is Leah at the window. I just think that that's a lot because Irvin Kershner was the one who directed this, not George. And again, we cannot talk about this movie without talking about the amazing editing of Marsha Lucas
and team.
Well, it's Marsha is the person who gets a lot of the credit, but the fact is, you had what is his name? Because Lucas even did some of the editing for the film, and I had this open because I knew I was going to talk about this. Where's it at? Oh my God, I can't fucking believe this.
Hold on.
Because I looked it up earlier. Star Wars editors.
Paul Hirsch.
Paul Hirsch, John Jimson, Richard Chu was another major editor. He did a lot of work. And then T.M. Christopher also is one of the minor editors. But Marsha Lucas is the one who, in the end, she was pulled off of a movie with Brian De Palma at the time.
Yeah.
She was working with Brian De Palma, and Lucas pulled her in to save Star Wars. And as it's been said, and that documentary is correct, Star Wars was saved in the edit. And Marsha Lucas was one of the big voices for that film. And she was also a great visionary, because your best editors are as good as storytellers as writers are, because they have to understand.
She also listened and read a lot of the drafts that Lucas wrote. She knew how George thought. She was very familiar with what went into the making of that script and all the different versions that she had read. I give her credit for that. But as far as the editing goes, I have to give credit to Paul Hirsch and to Richard Chu and to Marsha Lucas equally, because it is true that it was saved in the edit, but it wasn't saved in the edit by one person. It was saved in the edit by a talented team.
A talented team, but I'm going to say Marsha Lucas was the best editor they had working. The shift of Vader being Luke's father, we brought this up earlier, Classic. I talked about Lee Brackett and that Lucas tried to bring the script to her while she was in the hospital, but she was in too bad a shape, so he wasn't sure what to do. He had no writer. But thanks to Spielberg, he got introduced to Kasdan. And so Kasdan became the person that fixed the script. But Kasdan himself said that all the beats are there from hers, and there's even dialogue and scenes are still there from Lee Brackett's script. It's just the little in-between stuff that Kasdan brought in. And importantly so, because I think that the script was saved by Lawrence Kasdan. And so, we did talk about this earlier, Classic.
Yeah. Well, it also, Lawrence Kasdan deserves credit, because most people in that particular situation, especially nowadays, would have tried to rewrite the script in order to add more of themselves into it. And this is someone who understood what the script was, what it meant, and saw its brilliance already, and just helped to just massage a few things. You don't see that a lot. Way too many people nowadays are too selfish, and that's how you ruin things, is wanting to add your own essence to something, when you have to be honest about what you're looking at and actually ask yourself, what does this really and truly need?
Okay, what I'm writing in here right now, because I'm looking for a reference to it, is that before they even began production on Empire Strikes Back, in an overseas interview with Dave Prowse, Prowse, for some fucking reason, had slipped up and said that he thought that Darth Vader was Luke's dad. I don't know if he was fucking around or what. But Dave Prowse did get in hot water over that for saying anything. And come to find out, years later that that's what he would do. But I don't think it's an afterthought, because I do say this. I will defend Lucas in that, because Lucas lies. And he said that all of this was all pre-planned. That's a lie. That's an absolute fallacy. But he did write the story outlines with even some scenes for both Star Wars 2 and Star Wars 3 while writing the first script for Star Wars. Because there are elements in there, because I do know that the Darth Vader Obi-Wan duel didn't take place on the Death Star. It took place on Bespin. It was in the Cloud City. And that early on, Lando was supposed to be a clone from the Clone Wars. So there was a lot of things in there, but I don't know about Darth Vader being his dad, but I do know that Dave Prowse got in some hot water over that, making that comment, off the cuff comment. And then later, yeah, it was. That was where they were going with it. Wait, what, Ariel?
Yeah, I would like to comment on that. Ariel and Gambit, everybody's judging Lando too harshly.
Well, let me tell you this. Let's defend him in pointing this out. Hold on, Martin, because this is going to go with what you're saying. Then finish it. He tried to warn them away.
Yes.
He tried to warn them, get them to leave.
Yes, that is why they couldn't land on Bespin. He tried
to warn them away.
Whoa, that's a nasty echo.
I heard that echo.
What's going on?
It was an echo.
Yeah, Lando was in not a good position. Imagine Lord Vader appears to your door and said, "You are going to do this." And then, oh shit.
And by the way, people have said, well, the music from The Planet sounds so much like Star Wars. He stole from it. And I'm like, no, because that was one of the compositions that Lucas had suggested that he listen to, because he listened to those while he was writing stuff out. Music inspires. I use music when I'm writing. It helps me so much to get into the frame of mind needed. And The Planets was one of those albums that he listened to. So yeah, John Williams took elements and put that, like the Imperial March really sounds like Ganymedes, I think was that one. Oh, I love this scene. Oh. And Lobot, by the way, the actor that plays Lobot here, the bald guy with the headgear on, was in THX 1138. And that's why I still think it's cool that he makes him look like somebody from THX 1138.
The great thing about classical music is there's so many variations on and compositions based on other compositions. Williams did that. It's no big deal. It really is no big deal.
That's the thing with art in general. Everything has already been done. It's just variations.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the visual effects, he's correct. Gambit's correct on that. There was an initial cut of the film without visual effects, and that was put together in 79. But the film needed to be done by 79 for them to get the film out, because, good God, there's a lot of effects. Nothing compared to what would go into Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi had, at that point, the most visual effects in one movie. And most of it was in that last final battle with the second Death Star. Yeah, the effects crew, see, in the first film, he had some problems because they had not finished 1 second of footage by the time he wrapped shooting. And they'd been building everything. And they were like, well, we've been building everything, man. So he showed up to his ILM office there and basically fucking kicked their asses. And he ended up being there for a lot of the shooting of the visual effects. But part of the problem that they had was they were a bunch of hippies, first of all. They just wanted to sit around and get high. And there's enough of that. George was like, no, we're not going to have this, not on my fucking dime. So he went there every day and put the whip to him to get the shit done. And on top of that, ended up visually directing all of the visual effects shots, but helping to lead them because he created something akin to animatics by taking clips from old World War II movies and using those for visual reference for what he wanted in that shot. And that helped them so much because I got to be honest, they didn't understand what the fuck he wanted. They built everything and didn't know what to do with it. So once he was done, this is why Lucas is so deeply involved with that first movie. He's directing, co-producing. He's, writing on the script, making changes, getting shit from his actors over the writing because they say you can write this shit, but you can't say it. And they would mock him over it. But he had a lot of stress, and that's why he ended up in a hospital and diagnosed with hypertension at 35 because of the stress he was under. And he decided because of all of that he couldn't do that. And by the way, this scene was created specifically because he couldn't get Harrison Ford to agree to the third film. So this was the potential out for Harrison Ford. This could be Harrison Ford's final scene in the Star Wars saga.
Pretty clever.
And I remember, Keith, what?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the show, but it's so funny. So there you have it.
Yeah. So
What
I forgot what I was going to ask Keith. I can't remember what I was going to ask Keith.
Well, we're going to talk about Harrison's, what he could have done had he left, or what would have been done to.
Well, he was going to die. He's
Yes.
going to die off camera.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what I was going to say. Never mind. Okay, did you eat salt with every fucking meal? I was 45 when I got diagnosed with mild hypertension. Oh, this is a great moment, by the way, because it's one of my favorite moments with Boba Fett. That as Boba Fett's walking by, he's actually two characters in this scene. He's the Imperial officer that hides behind Leia, and he's Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Because the actor who was supposed to play Boba Fett didn't fucking show up. And that's how we ended up playing Boba Fett.
Jeremy
I
Bullock.
never understand that. You could have been in this and you don't show up? What the fuck?
So anyway, Luke pulls out his pistol and Boba Fett slightly turns his head his way and then turns his head forward and walks away, but then immediately comes back around the corner firing at him. And that's because he heard him pull the pistol out. And I thought that was so fucking cool. Oh, you commanded Joes like me? I'll tell you right now, you'd probably be like one of those non-medical officers trying to command me. And I'm like going, you don't get to tell me what to do. I'm a medical. The only person who can tell me what to do is the closest medical officer. I irritated so many officers with that. Like, you don't get to tell me what to do. I can tell you what to do right now.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was something that, was being discussed that Han Solo needed to die in the next film, and Harrison wanted him dead until George offered him better writing, for his character, that more heroic shit. This is absolutely one of my favorite scenes of all time. This is so visually dynamic. You got the mixture of the blue representing the Jedi and the red representing the evil with the Sith. It's incredible. And by the way, people say that Sith was never mentioned in Star Wars. I'm like, pick up the book. Read the book sometime.
People don't read anymore, Gary.
I love this. The juxtaposition of the blue and the red, sizing each other up here. And Vader doesn't take him seriously in this fight at all at first.
Not at first.
He's just-
No, he's fighting with one hand only, and it takes a while for him to realize, yeah, this is serious competition, so you better grab it with both hands.
And again, by the way, classic comics. Harrison Ford said that he had had a problem before with signing contracts for multiple film deals. And I'm like, when? What fucking franchise? That's a bunch of bullshit. Oh, midichlorian. Yeah, midichlorians. That fucking pissed me off. And eventually he finally tried to smooth things over with fans saying, well, midichlorians aren't the Force. Midichlorians are creatures that like feed or live within the Force. So therefore, if you see a lot of midichlorians, you see someone that's strong in the Force. And I'm like, bullshit. The thing that's cool about Force wielders are that they can see and sense other Force wielders. They can feel them. And like Darth Vader isn't sitting there with this little device going, oh, this one's strong with the Force because it tells me right here. No, he senses it. I fucking hated that excuse. Oh, I hate it. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate the midichlorians. Just the dumbest fucking idea ever. It's George Lucas trying to retrofit Star Wars with science fiction. It's science fantasy, motherfucker. Space fantasy. Just fucking move on. Move on, George. Absolutely, he walked a lot of it. God, it was bad. Whereas early in the film, we see that the face of Darth Vader happens to Luke. That was really a cool scene, and I forgot to talk about that because they originally shot with a prosthetic face, and it looked like shit. It looked awful. It looked like a prosthetic head inside. It didn't look like Mark. So they had to reshoot it. And the way they shot it, if you look at it closely, you can actually see a mound of earth right under the neckline. And that's him buried under the dirt with his head coming out through the mask. And he had to sit totally still without moving his eyes while that fucking smoke rolls out.
One more miserable scene for poor Hamill.
Poor Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And, don't get me wrong. I think he's an asshole today. But I used to really like him. Back before he became a jaded twat.
And he was just a kid. He was like 24 or something when they made this.
Yeah, he was almost the same age as Carrie Fisher. I think he was a year or two older than her.
He was.
And by the way, has anybody else seen that the redoing of the lightsaber battle for Scene 37 for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader?
That is awesome.
It is really cool. I wish they would do it again and fix it because a lot of the effects in it don't work for the face. It just didn't work. But they could fix that today. Oh, he looks like Tom Cruise there. That's weird. But what's cool here is you actually see Darth Vader use two hands here. Also, you actually can catch right when, because it's dead silent in there when Luke walks in, and then suddenly Darth Vader comes out and he begins breathing, and he's breathing fast. You can hear it because he's been holding his breath this whole time.
Which he
for
cannot
Luke.
do.
And so you hear him, and he's rasping as he's
Maybe
fighting
we
with two
should
hands.
mention how they did the effect of his breathing, because I find that very interesting how they did that.
Well, a lot of people do know it now. It's what it is Ben Burt stuck a microphone down the tubing of a scuba rebreather, and that's that sound you hear, that breathing. Now, a lot of people don't realize that on the platform, the lightsaber is laying there. That's how he gets his lightsaber back.
And they shot it in reverse. They had
Right.
to toss it and then just played it backwards.
And I also do like that for the special edition, they put more windows in here because it's a fucking cloud city. Why can't we see more? Everything looks closed in. But if you
Yeah.
look at the original painting of the first lightsaber battle, it is on Bespin, and clearly it's Bespin. You know the one I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is a joke that was made in the first movie but cut. And I'm glad they put it back in because R2 can't tell the difference between a power outlet and a computer terminal connection. And so he gets electrocuted. It's fucking funny.
It is.
How am I supposed to know a power socket from a computer terminal? Oh, yeah, he can go fuck himself. He lost so much fandom being a prick. Not getting as much money these days. Oh, I also love when he spins and starts blowing smoke out to help block the way for them to get away. He's their little personal smoke device. No, we are all just jealous.
Jealous of what?
Now, I'm going to tell you, the Millennium Falcon was my favorite spaceship of all time, above even the Enterprise, until Slave One.
Millennium Falcon entered into my top 3 of all time.
It's always been in my top 3, and it's still, I would put it right up there. It's still, I think it's still number 1. Number 2 is Millennium Falcon. Number 3 is the USS Enterprise. Any version of it, except for JJ's.
For me, it's the USS Enterprise followed by the Millennium Falcon. And unlike my good friend Gary, I will only take the original series version and the first film version. I will not take the one from Strange New Worlds because to me it doesn't exist. Heresy.
It doesn't
Heresy.
exist. You are right.
No,
I
it doesn't.
absolutely agree there. By the way, this fight scene is really one of the most emotional fight scenes because Darth Vader is fighting with absolute anger and rage, and he's just knocking the shit out of poor Luke here. And I think everybody agrees in the assessment is that he knew he had to fight this way because Luke was starting to beat him, and he had to use all of his cards to defeat him. And that includes finally cutting his hand off.
I mean, at least it's immediately cauterized, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I will point out that Dave Prowse in the suit delivered the lines as they were written in the script, where he says, "I killed your father." And he was unaware. The only person on the set that was aware outside of the director and George Lucas was Mark Hamill. And Mark Hamill still had doubts, like they were fucking with him.
Well,
But
he was
he was
only
told-
told immediately before shooting that scene.
Yeah, he says, what I want you to do is I want you to deliver your lines, but in your head, you need to be delivering it to, "I am your father," and not to what he says. You have to deliver it to that. And so that's the scene you see is him acting out, being told that, even though that's not what was delivered to him on the set. And Harrison Ford was miffed with him. He says, "I'm supposed to be your best friend, and you never told me."
Yeah.
I think the line isn't. I don't think he says Luke. I think it's the
No.
line is, he never told you the truth about your father. He told me enough. You killed him. No,
No,
I
I
am your father.
father.
He
Yeah, there's
never
no
says
Luke
Luke.
there.
No.
Nope. And again, I'm going to point this out. We used to go to the theater, and it was like Rocky Horror Picture Show for matinees, where a bunch of us would go, and we would all sit there and recite the lines with our favorite characters. So I was always Han Solo and Darth Vader, delivering all their lines, and that's what nerds used to do back in the day. Now, there's a really good statement made about this scene, that the reason why he didn't get sucked into this tube, Darth Vader using the Force put him into that tube to save
Saving
him.
him. Yeah. By the way, Gary, that's how I talk with my dad. And I did with my mom. Opera quotes. There's one for every situation.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's in the same room with 3PO and doesn't go, "Hey, I know you. You're my old pal." Fuck that.
Well, protocol droids are very standard, and he never heard the name.
He probably didn't tell Ford because he knew Ford was banging Carrie. Yeah, that's probably why. Why do
Yeah.
you think he stopped at 3 films? I don't know how to respond to that, because he did 6. I think that the backlash over the prequels from the fans was too much for him to want to do anymore, even though he had written them out, the basic synopses for him.
Well, the
This
other
is
reason
where-
why. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just say Luke tries to call out to Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan told him, "We cannot help you. You're doing this on your own," and he remembers that while he's on there. And by the way, 3 times in this film he ends up upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Three times, and Paul mentions this, and I love that Paul caught that 3 times that he's upside down are 3 transitional moments for Luke Skywalker. 3 times Luke is upside down, 3 times they're transitional for him. The Wampa cave,
Mm-hmm.
the scene with Yoda, and he gets the disturbance and he collapses on the ground. And then when he's hanging from the cable, or those
Vein.
tower that's hanging
Yeah.
underneath. It's not really a tower. I don't know what to call it. An antenna hanging down below, and he ends up hanging from that upside down. And he calls out to Leia. So I think that's interesting. 3 times in this film, you see Luke in transitional moments upside down, physically upside down. And I don't think that's accidental. See right here, that's the 3rd time. I like older Anakin. Fucking little kid Anakin was stupid. And what they did to that poor kid. They should have had Hayden Christensen play all 3. And they should have stuck with the motif. Lucas loves to talk about circular storytelling. Well, then Anakin should have been too old too. 14 years old, because that's how old Hayden Christensen was when they shot the first Phantom Menace. They should have just had him. It was dumb having a little kid. He's a terrible actor, that poor kid. Yeah, well, because he originally planned, he told Mark Hamill he wanted to have him come back older to play the older version of himself. And it was almost exactly to the date that he played him, that he had planned it. Except for this time, it was Disney. I do love this scene where they're once again getting chased by TIE fighters. And a lot of people complained that Lando is wearing Han's vest and one of his shirts. And I said, well, he only left what was on him. He didn't have a suitcase of clothes. So he took whatever was there, and he and Han just happened to be the same size, at least on their clothing.
Well,
come on, I made the joke. Come on. There. And then you get this gag again with the warp or the hyperdrive system is motivator is not turned on or some shit. And Lando says, "It's not my fault." I love that. I fucking laughed so hard in the theater. The motherfucking actor Hayden Christensen, the frat boy looking motherfucker. I never liked his ass in either of the Star Wars prequels. Is that something you copied and pasted, Gambit, or is that how you really feel?
No, I think that's him talking now.
I know I'm teasing you. Oh, this scene is so rough, man. Luke, father, son. Oh, man. Oh, man. I remember seeing this the first time. I remember just going, what? It can't be true. He can't be his dad. We'll find out in the next film it was all a ruse. I know I didn't copy and paste that one. Okay, buddy. No, he didn't talk about a 15-year pause for all films, but he talked about there being a 20-year gap between the last film and when he planned to shoot the sequel trilogy. And that was true, that he did plan that. I don't know if he really thought out the plans for the prequels. I really just, I love Pyatt standing there thinking, well, I'm dead. And then Vader just walks off, not paying any mind to anybody. And he's like, I'm going to die any second. I'm going to die. He didn't kill me. I guess I'll be around for the next movie. And then an A-Wing will get me.
Hey, didn't Leia kiss Luke again in this movie? They kissed twice in the film.
Twice,
yeah.
And in this scene, by the way, I want to point out where it had originally, this is where the film ends, originally. That it ends with the Falcon flying off and the music. But then Lucas realized they needed to show Leia and Luke. And we needed to have more of an upbeat ending. So the scene here, this is the original shot right here of the medical frigate. And I'm going to point out that this frigate, the window that they're actually standing in, the room, isn't lit when we do the first camera pass on this. This is something they should have fixed in this special edition. We just passed it already. The window isn't lit. And then it cuts over here to the Falcon. And it's like, and then we hear their voices, and that was what they're going to do. You're just going to hear them and see Lando and Chewie and in them flying off. They were like, no, they had to come back and set up a scene for them inside that medical room where he's getting his bionic hand. And there he is wearing some of Han's old clothes.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the same thing.
Yeah. By the way, I actually like that movie, Jumper.
Yeah, me too.
I liked it until the end. The end ruined the movie for me.
I think a lot of what Hayden ended up doing was decent stuff. I really enjoyed him with Kevin Kline in Life as a House. That is a fantastic film.
Now, Gambit, do not hate me, but I, in fact, like Hayden as Anakin.
I liked him as Anakin, but I just didn't like some of the things they had him do.
Yeah. The dialogue was not good. Had a better writer gotten to it.
Writing.
The balcony dialogue. Oh.
See, now the window is lit where it wasn't lit before when we first approached the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And, so they screwed up there. They should have fixed that. I don't know why they didn't.
Yes.
Well, it's funny you say that because I got suspended in school for making an animated film on school grounds that had what they considered to be pornographic stuff in it, because I had Puke Streetwalker, Princess Reatard, Old Bend Over and Do Me, Dark Bladder, hands
demonetized.
hands only, and the lightsaber was nothing but a vibrator. And the scene ended with Luke putting his arm around where Leia is supposed to be standing, and she's not there. And he goes, Rhea, Rhea, and then you just hear a girl go, oh, and you hear, and that was the end of the cartoon. Even though I didn't show anything, I alluded to it. I got suspended in school for that.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Imagine that, Gary being suspended.
I've been suspended for fighting, for God's sakes. That I deserved. I don't think he's a great actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. Like that movie he made loosely based on the true story of that reporter. I don't think his acting was all that good, but I liked him in Jumper. I liked him in the movie My Life as a House with Kevin Kline. I thought it was really good. He did a fine job. My problem with him as Anakin is some of the weird acting that he was being asked to do. Like the scene where he just starts rage crying in front of Padme. I just didn't just kill the adults. I killed the women and the children. And I'm like, okay, you need help. That's all I get from that. This guy needs fucking psychological
he doesn't
help.
need help. Batman needs help. She's just hearing that confession and poor thing.
True. I will. Padme does need help because it's like, hey, this guy you like just admitted to pretty much killing everybody.
Yeah, that was the mother of all red flags.
And yet you still allowed him to knock boots.
They are humanoid, so therefore that makes him a serial killer. Most of the actors in the prequels were stilted performances. Well, it's the writing.
Yes.
It's the fucking awful writing.
Yeah.
You're actually making our case for us.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Lucas's fault. George Lucas should have hired another writer. I'm going to tell you now, the prequel trilogy is a vanity project, and that's all it was. And he thought the fans would love it, and he was wrong.
Oh my God, what Ariel. Padme's a woman, and as a one, we don't care for men's problems.
Wow, that explains a lot. That explains too much.
Yeah, go mow the lawn. Go throw out the trash. And make your own damn sandwich, women.
If the guy you share a bed with is confessing to killing a whole bunch of people, and you don't immediately take steps to, that's a you thing.
Yeah,
that means the crying she does at the end is all her fault.
She is a psychotic. I mean, he is a psychotic. The way he's played in the film, he's a psychotic, and I didn't like that.
And she's an enabler.
Yep. So, and that's why I'm just not a fan of them. But I will tell you, Phantom Menace has, in my opinion, not only the best lightsaber battle ever, it's, in my opinion, one of the best sword fights in cinema history. And I just fucking love what they did in that film. But then he tried to outdo himself in the next film, and it looked awful. Body doubles are annoying. When he got to the scene with Count Dooku, and it was clearly a body double with CG mask. I fucking hated it. The scene with Yoda was ridiculous. It just was. It was like, I was afraid people thought it might be clunky and silly looking. You were correct in your first assessment. Yes, I think it was fucking bizarro. A little monkey bouncing around.
My favorite fight is Revenge of the Sith. That is my favorite one.
Here's my complaint.
Say what?
Here's my complaint. You go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll tell you
it is my favorite one in so much as that what you have are two people that know each other so well, with Anakin having learned so much from Obi-Wan.
The actor. Also, the actors had learned so much, and they were friends in real life. And and they had practiced together on the previous stuff. And so But I think it would have been better if they had been on all 3 films. Having him as a child was dumb. So
Yeah.
anyway, you get this great fight scene, and what do? They surround it by visual effects,
Yes.
so it's hard to really watch it.
Yes.
And that bugged the hell out of me that they did that. It's made it ruined the lightsaber, but ruined the lightsaber for me. The lightsaber battle, because the lava flow and all of that was distracting to what was going on. So that was what's so good about the first one, is there's a lot less visual distraction than in that one. And I hated the lightsaber battles in the second film because of all the aping effects. I don't like that. Aping effects means where you have a guy playing the part, but then he's going to be visually replaced by somebody else. And it's just fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You're upset for killing all those younglings, but how does my hair look? The part, yeah. I just felt like he needed somebody that understood good writing, because he's a great idea guy. He's what I always refer to as a great skyscraper idea guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs somebody else to help ground the story in realism. And it's where Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan came in and did a far better job. And then by the time he did Return of the Jedi, it was the first of his the first go at vanity projects to where he was fully in charge now. And we lost the Wookiees and we got Ewoks, and Han Solo became a fucking goofball. And just, I don't know. They lost me with Return of the Jedi. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that film. I don't hate it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it.
I don't hate it either. And I did enjoy it. But the fact is I love that scene between the fight between Luke and Darth Vader in that one was really good. And I love the theme song Duel of the Fates. What a great score.
Mm-hmm.
Duel of the Fates is in the episode 1.
Then what is it? What is the song that he did for that fight scene? Instead of just correcting me or not correcting me, correct me.
Give me a minute.
Oh, you got to look it up. Oh gosh. People thought by the time Force Awakens and Last Jedi, there might be an indication of Lucas being manipulated or hoodwinked. No, it was all him. I'll tell you, though, I will tell you this, Gambit, that he's not being hoodwinked, but he is being stroked on by the producer that I brought up earlier. That guy was a
McCallum.
McCallum. He was a fucking prick. He was a yes man. Oh, that sounds genius. Oh, just right.
What makes it worse is the fact that what Disney ended up making was still significantly less in every way than what we even got with the prequels.
Okay, guys.
And yeah, go ahead.
You got it.
I was checked on my music. I have the soundtracks and everything. And remember, in this movie, the fight scenes were intertwined in one with another, which I hated. But because of that, the theme music for that particular lightsaber battle is called The Lightsaber and the Ewok Battle. That's the name of the piece.
What it says here is the duel theme in Return of the Jedi is referred to as the final duel.
Well, that is not what my listing says.
Final duel theme is highlighted for its role in establishing the tone of the fight and illustrating what is at stake, which is Leia. It's not just the rebellion, it's Leia he's protecting.
And that also goes to show, as I said before, you know, in many ways, he is a lot like his mother. So he shows a kind of depth of feeling. And when someone that he loves is threatened, all that intensity comes forth.
And I love
once
the way
you-
Darth Vader says that. Sister.
Yeah.
If you
And
cannot
that's
be
what-
turned, perhaps she can be turned.
And
then
that's
Luke's like,
really what
"Oh."
changes that. Because he goes from being a lot like his mother to instantly being like his father. And I think
Now,
really that's what Vader senses.
yeah,
Every
this-
time Luke taps into something like that, his abilities almost double, if not triple, makes him very dangerous.
Now, this is the ironic part.
Also, it's funny, he takes the upper ground. Remember that, the high ground?
Hmm.
Here's the ironic part. Luke was one step to be turned if Palpatine hasn't cackled.
Stop.
Yeah, really close. But by the way, this is also my favorite poster of all of the Star Wars films.
Yeah.
And as much of a Drew Struzan fan as I am, this poster is my favorite Star Wars poster ever painted. It's gorgeous.
It just encapsulates the entire film for me. So
It has the warmth romance of Han and Leia, Luke on that Tauntaun, Chewie and the droids. You've got X-Wings up above and Darth Vader, once again, his face looming in the background. It's a fucking gorgeous painting. The other painting I like is the twin to that one, which was on some of the posters here in the US, but mostly in Europe. And hold on a second, it's going to take me a second to upload this. I got to delete the previous one. They're being assholes on. Yeah, that's the one I want right here. Here we go. This is another poster that follows pretty much the same theme, with Darth Vader's face in the background again, but this time you got the Falcon and Lando and the Millennium Falcon behind Han kissing Leia, Chewbacca, Luke in the heroic pose, R2 and the X-Wing down below, but you also got something you didn't get in the other one, the AT-AT.
yeah, this is my second favorite one.
I love this
The
poster
Falcon
too.
looks so Ralph McQuarrie's.
It's very Ralph McQuarrie looking, isn't it? Yeah. You get an X-Wings in the background too, by the way, but man, that Walker and the Falcon are just right out front, man. That's gorgeous.
It helps to highlight many of the characters that you see in the film. It brings out more of the Killer Kane. That's the name I was trying to think of. Killer Kane. That's the other character that Lucas based Han Solo on, was Killer Kane from Buck Rogers. The Killer Kane aspect, the rogue, the ruffian, the one who's not exactly a part of the rebellion, but who sees profit and the ability to help people that he has come to rely upon in a way. It's Killer Kane and Prince Baron are the two characters that make up Han Solo. Not every bit of Han Solo, but they were the initial inspirations.
Absolutely. By the way, 11 Alpha has breached. So here is your backdoor video.
The Back Door by Kinsey Masing. Some people are scared to enter the back door. It's an area many have yet to explore. The front door might be nice and easy, but the back door can be just as breezy. The back door might seem dark and scary, but there's no reason to be wary. The back door might be overgrown and bushy, so sometimes you have to be extra pushy.
For the Fellowship of the Ring, that's pretty much where they go. They have to enter Moria through the back door.
Yeah, back door.
I thought you were going to play the newest.
What's the newest one? I don't remember.
I think Monday's movie. Something we did really recently. And you made
Is it in here?
That I don't know.
I got Goonie backdoor. That's all I have. It's new.
That sounds so wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we had a new one.
Is it in the military? You're not helping me.
I can't. I tell you when we have a backdoor. The rest is up to you, making the clip and putting it in
No,
there. How would
shit.
I know?
You're logged in here too. I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking
Oh.
about.
She
Oh,
does.
you
She
mean
does.
that.
She cannot. Oh yes, she can.
I have powers, yes. Also, I'm tired. It's
I have
1:30 midnight.
powers.
Oh, that's code for wrap it up. All right, guys.
It is.
Right now, Grogu movie is set for a following year. I don't care
Good luck.
anymore.
Yeah.
After Kathleen alienated all the fucking fans of that show by making that third season such a piece of shit, I don't care anymore.
Yep.
I've
And
always thought
Kevin
the Han
Feige's
and
doing the same thing.
Butler, I'm going with the wind. Both smugglers, both romance, young men. I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing surprises me with that.
Well, no. I'm not saying that Red Butler isn't an inspiration, but given what Lucas drew from, especially a lot of stuff from his childhood, he was wanting to make a Flash Gordon movie. So if you go 1-to-1 with the characters, the character that is the closest to Han Solo is Prince Baring, and with Buck Rogers, it's Killer Kane. But I'm not saying that those are the only
to let
ones.
you know, what is also not on that documentary, Empire of Dreams, it mentions, he was interested in making a Flash Gordon-like movie. That's not true. He wanted to make Flash Gordon.
Yep.
And he found out that De Laurentiis had the rights to it. De Laurentiis had already gotten the rights to it. So that screwed him out of wanting to do it, because otherwise he'd have to work with De Laurentiis. So it just didn't happen. So anyway, guys, that's the end of it. Thanks for popping in, Keith, and being here with us. I didn't think you were going to make the whole show. I appreciate it, buddy. And I know the audience appreciates it.
Thanks for having me.
Gambit says #jerkoff. I don't know what that means.
What?
Wrap it up. I'll take it. By the way, 11 Alpha, I opened for them at the Holiday Inn South or North in Virginia, way back, and that's why I got out of stand-up comedy, because I'd never seen so much fucking cocaine in my life. I was like, I wanted nothing to do with drugs, and that freaked me out. There was so much cocaine backstage there. I find your lack of Dave Filoni disturbing.
Yeah, get used to it, because you won't see a lot of him where I'm concerned.
Jacob, in my view, Dave Filoni is a bitchy.
Yep. So we are wrapping it up, guys. We are out of here. I hope everybody had fun today. I know we did. It's always fun to talk about Star Wars, especially The Empire Strikes Back. We may again revisit this film down the line, but this is our first Empire Strikes Back show, and I do plan to do it again, because I never get tired of talking about this movie. It is my favorite Star Wars film, and it's in my top 10 favorite films of all time.
Yep.
It's after 5. I think it's number 6 on my movie list. So anyway, guys, we're going to get the hell out of here. Keith, thanks for being here. Martin, thanks. Mephisto, wherever you are, we love you, buddy. Thanks for popping in with us. Anima Confusa, thanks for being here.
Can you call me Anakin?
Yeah, Anakin Confusa. And so we're the fuck out of here. So I will see you later, guys. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a black hand. Who is that?
This episode has been brought to you by Black Ski. It's blackness. I can't even talk. Next
Almighty Blackness who's here. Oh, a lot of people shut up. Thanks, guys. See you next time.